It's markedly milder at the moment compared to how we started the week, so you may be surprised to hear that there's a chance of a little bit more snow again through this weekend, and also some heavy rain and some very strong winds too. And actually that's the theme that we have on Friday, particularly towards northern parts of the UK. A relatively deep area of low pressure just to the north of us. Notice the tightly packed isobars bring some strong gusty winds, particularly towards northern and western parts of Scotland. We're talking gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, perhaps 75 miles per hour in the most exposed spots. As well as the blustery winds as we go through Friday, there will be some showery bursts of rain around. Yes, some sunshine for sure, but also some spells of wetter weather, and some of that rain could be a bit heavy. There could be some rumbles of thunder, could even be a bit of hail mixed in. And over the higher ground of Scotland, some sleet and snow is quite likely. Now, as we go through the day, the winds in the north in particular are going to be easing down. So windy here to start off with, becoming slightly less windy as we go through the day. That's because the low pressure that I mentioned earlier, that drifts away towards the northeast. But as it does so, it will lead to cold Arctic air coming down from the north. That's going to make its way southwards as we go into the weekend, and that's why things are going to turn quite chilly again for most of us. The other talking point, though, as we go through this weekend is a developing feature. An area of low pressure is set to track somewhere northeastwards across the southern half of the UK, and there are still some question marks as to exactly how deep this is going to get and the exact track it's going to take. But at the moment, most likely it'll push through somewhere around southwest England, South Wales, and then northeastwards towards the Lincolnshire area. And as it goes through, well, yes, it's going to bring some heavy rain, but also some strong gusts winds. More on that in just a second. So we wake up on Saturday morning with a few showery bursts still across parts of Scotland, these piling down of that cold northerly Arctic air, but the wetter weather will be across more southern parts. Here we have that system pushing through as that low pressure makes its way across parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain and also some strong gusty winds. The potential for some strong winds around south coastal parts, but potentially a more windy weather are wrapping around the low pressure as it starts to clear away towards the North Sea. So particularly down the eastern side of England could see some strong gusts, 50, 60 miles per hour, perhaps even a bit stronger than that. Rainfall total wise, well, some places could see 30 to 50 millimetres perhaps building up in a few places, so enough to cause some disruption. And worth highlighting, with that cold Arctic air coming down from the north, we are going to possibly see a bit of sleet and snow over the high ground, particularly around the South Pennines. That's where we're most likely to see something wintry. As I mentioned, though, there is still a bit of uncertainty as to the exact track and how deep that low pressure is going to get. Potential it stays a little bit shallower, stays further south, and so we have wetter weather towards the south and less likely to see anything wintry. Potential as well that it could go a bit further north, and if it does so, then there's a greater risk of seeing some sleet or snow, mainly over higher ground, but it could just be modest higher ground over northern parts of England, perhaps even southern Scotland. Temperatures are dropping compared to Friday. Thursday was a mild day. Friday's not quite as mild, but by Saturday temperatures a bit below average for some places towards the north, and feeling it with that Arctic air coming through, mid-single figures for many places here. A few degrees milder than this further south, near normal for this stage in November, albeit maybe a little bit above, but not necessarily feeling it with the cloudy, wet and windy weather. Then as we go through the rest of Saturday, still some further heavy rain to come, still some strong winds as the low pressure pushes further into the North Sea. That's when we'll have some further wet and windy weather sweeping down the eastern side of England. So that's perhaps when we could see the most disruptive conditions. But something dry, clearer following in behind. That's because there is a ridge of high pressure that's going to build in. It's only a short-lived ridge, but it does mean we're set for something a little bit quieter as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. So by that I mean some dry, clear weather, but also the potential for some fairly low temperatures and also some fog in places as well. So frost, particularly towards northern parts, and a bit of fog around first thing on Sunday morning. Otherwise, the wet and windy weather left over from Saturday, that will quickly clear away towards the east, and so we have some dry, brighter conditions for many through a large chunk of Sunday, but later on across parts of Northern Ireland, turning cloudier, turning wet, and turning windier as another system pushes its way in. For most, though, Saturday is going to be the wetter day of the weekend, with Sunday bringing drier, brighter, sunnier weather for most. Also slightly colder though, so temperatures, if anything, look like they're going to be a few degrees lower than on Saturday, but with more sunshine on offer, that may counter that drop in temperatures just a little bit. A chilly feel for sure. Then, as we go through into next week and that weather system in the west, that pushes through. So yes, the start of meteorological winter, the start of Advent, the start of December, it looks like it's going to be fairly wet and windy, and with some heavier rain already coming through on Saturday. There's the potential that more heavy rain on Monday, where that could lead to some further impacts as already saturated ground gets some further downpours. It's also going to be blustery at times, and we're going to see a change in our wind direction, so temperatures should pick up a little bit. And really that's kind of the theme through much of next week. Really, it is going to be wet and windy at times. There will be some drier weather for sure, and it is going to be a little bit milder, but there's always the potential for something a bit colder to plunge in from the north. So make sure you stay up to date. Bye-bye.